So we're going to start by screening Sam's shoulder to figure out what we're going to end up using for some of his prehab exercises. The first thing we want to do is evaluate how much range of motion he has. The three ranges that we're going to look for: internal, external, and shoulder flexion. So first one I'm going to look for is internal rotation. I'm going to lock up his scap here. I'm going to gently put my knee so he can rest on it, and then we're going to roll in. What I look for, a lot of people are going to look for total range of motion of where that athlete is. I'm most concerned with end feel. So when I lock up his scap and I roll him in, he's got a nice soft end field where we can actually get some play at the end. And if I really wanted to, I could probably crank it a little bit more. That's going to be our first indicator. We want to see somewhere above 45 degrees is generally what we're looking for. So for Sam, somewhere right around here would be great. If we want to crank, like I said, we can get further, but I want to make sure that we're getting the range from his glenohumeral joint, not from his scap just falling forward. So that's the first thing. So he's got good internal rotation here. If he didn't, I would want to screen further and figure out, hey, why is he not having that range of motion? Does he need a little bit of subscap work? Does he need some infraspinatus work? Having that range of motion is going to be a prerequisite to a lot of the other things that we're going to do. The next thing we're going to look at is external rotation. So external rotation, we're going to lock him here, right about 90 degrees. Let that arm drop back, make sure he's pain-free there. I don't care if he's supinated, pronated, just want to let him go. Looking for that range, making sure it's smooth, and again, I want to feel a nice soft end feel. When we get a hard end feel in any of these positions, usually to me that's an indicator that we either have a hard block in the bone where he's not going to be able to move any further and that we can't drive any more of that range of motion, or we have some kind of soft tissue restriction that is really balled up in there, and that is a big indicator to me that we need to break that up and figure out what's going on. The last one here is shoulder flexion, just letting that arm dump all the way up. Again, we're looking for softer, hard end feel, real soft here, that feels good. So that's our initial screen on that. The next thing what I want to do is actively check and see where he can go on his own. So I'm going to have you get all fours. Right here, so hands are going to be there, knees are going to be underneath your hips. There you go. And you can even dig your toes into the bench there. Good. So in that position, what I want you to do is basically exactly what we just did and go 90 degrees. We're going to go internal and external. So, yep, right there. We're going to start here. I want you to stick that chest up a little bit more other way. So we're going to flatten it out. So you're going to push your chest, yeah, there we go, out to there. Good. Now the big key for you here is I want to make sure that your neck stays locked in so that when we're doing any of these shoulder exercises, we can actually make sure you're getting it from the shoulder, not from the neck, because a lot of people start to dump and then you have other issues. What I want you to try to do here is try to lock that arm right in that position and see how much external rotation you can get without letting the shoulder blade move at all. Good, let's come back down, we'll do one more. And then at the end on this one, I want you to hold there. So first thing I noticed with Sam here is he had more external rotation passive than he did active. So what I want to do is I'm going to have him hold right there. You can keep holding. And I'm just going to assist him and try to see if we can get any more range, which you'll see. We actually have probably 2 or 3 inches of range of external rotation that he doesn't have that stability yet ingrained. So grabbing a partner, something we can add right into his training, is going to be adding a partner to this external rotation, having him get into that external as far as he can, holding there. So I just want you to hold there, Sam. Maybe give it a 5 count, and then he's going to bring himself back down into internal. So you can bring yourself back down into internal rotation, and then external rotate as far as you can again. He's got a little bit more this time. Let's see if we can get him back to that end range here. Good, hold. Good, keep holding, keep holding. Again, you can hold right here with his elbow and resist him a little bit, so he's going to push back into me. See if he can hold a little bit longer, good. And then control yourself back down into internal. We'll go one more on your own, all the way up. Let's see if you got it. So definitely better. He still probably has maybe a half an inch that we could get. He's almost got it all. So that's good. So that would be the first thing. I would say 5 or 10 reps of 5-second holds. Good, you can relax there for a sec. Will be the first thing we would like to do for that shoulder, just to make sure we have that external rotation. And then we're gonna look same thing for internal rotation. So locking that elbow, see how much internal rotation you get. Good, and then come back, right to neutral. Good, see if you can hold for like a 5 second. I'm gonna see if I can get any more range without dumping. There you go. Notice his elbow's starting to migrate down a little bit. We're gonna try to get him up just a little bit higher, bring him back down to neutral. One more time, all the way. Good, back to neutral again. And then all we're gonna do is bring that arm down. We're gonna test shoulder flexion. Do you need a break?
No.
Okay, shoulder flexion. Yep, you can go in supinated is absolutely fine right there. That works. Reaching that arm up as high as you can. Good. And then bring yourself back down one more time. Let's see if you can get up any higher on your own here. Good. So you're gonna notice that his head starts to dunk forward a little bit, bringing it back down one more time. Let's lock that head and neck in that same position. Go again, all the way up. Notice now he's losing shoulder flexion just because he doesn't have the strength to get there. And you'll be able to see on the other camera, he's starting to shake a little bit because he's really has to engage and balance that trunk stability. So now we can get him right about there. Notice how we're starting to get his lower back is starting to round a little bit on us. We're starting to shake off different things in terms of his stability is starting to break down, and that's where he's getting some shoulder, lack of shoulder flexion because of lack of stability. So an easy thing we can do there is have him practice that position, just working on getting out there. We could have him go a little bit further. You don't have to move here, but we're gonna have him go further apart with his knees and his feet to create a wider base of support. So if he's on the ground, he can go real wide, just try to get that shoulder flexion. But something I wanna do here with him, which we can add to those other exercises, is getting him in a bear crawl position. So his toes are gonna be a little bit wider apart here, Sam. Good. I want you to pull your knees off the bench by like 1/4 of an inch. Good. And now he's still got a little bit of a rounded back. I want you to think, stick your chest out a little bit more, other way. Yep. And then, good. Drop that hip down a little bit. Nice. So now you're pretty straight. I want you to protract with the shoulder. So there you go. Good control. Keep squeezing that stomach. Keep squeezing that stomach. Good. His neck's in a really good position. Yep. Everything's nice and straight. And this is gonna be really challenging. So we can add his external, internal exercises that we did before to add a little bit of a challenge. You can even add weight here. I'm putting him in this position a little bit longer because I wanna actually highlight what's gonna happen when we actually try to do that shoulder flexion where we already know there's a dysfunctional pattern. So I want you to try to go and do that shoulder flexion from that position. And notice how much further his arm drops down, his neck starts to shake, you can rest. This is gonna be the progression that we wanna get to so that we actually have to load him and get that real high shoulder flexion, because any of his shoulder, we tested his passive shoulder range of motion, which means that we know he has it, but does he have the stability to be able to own it in terms of an actual movement with a stability component? At this point, he doesn't. So that's gonna be a part of his his little prehab circuit. So there's a lot of different ways we can layer in these components in our prehab program. And obviously he's getting a little bit tired just from doing that. But start with passive, see where your range of motion is. If you have any hard end blocks, go get your shoulder checked right away. And then if that's easy, and you have those range of motion, now let's get you quadruped, and just locking that position, get external, internal. You can add a T variation, you can go straight shoulder flexion, and then start adding variations to it. Very simply, if you can get into that, that bear crawl position and add that external rotation, internal rotation, shoulder flexion, T variation, you're gonna be in a really good spot, and I would encourage you to do it on both sides, not just your throwing side.